Changes. Turn and face the strain. Changes. Don't tell them to grow up.
Why do we need a revolution in democracy? Because quite simply, what this building represents is not democracy, it's the power of money. And actually most of us, whichever place we find ourselves on the political spectrum, we kind of agree with this. We know that powerful economic interests behind the scenes are the ones dominating what politicians actually do. It's a cliche that politicians say one thing and that they do another. But we sometimes maybe don't join the dots in terms of what that means for us as citizens. But in fact, the history of the last 200 years is really, really clear. You know, from the end of slavery to the rights of women, to decent working conditions, to healthcare for all, to weekends, to hospitals, to social housing, all of those things came because enough of us little people got together in our millions and said we are not standing for the way things are, and we are at a moment in history where that has to happen again like never before.
Turn and face the strain. Changes. Don't tell them to grow up out of it.
One of the biggest problems that we have is that the mainstream media is paid for about 90% by very large companies. Unfortunately, that conflicts very directly with the interests of the 99% of people, with the majority that want to see a decent future for their children. But over the last 30 years, we've seen the wages for the vast majority flatlining. The so-called economic recovery that we're having means that people's wages are nowhere near in line with inflation, so people are struggling more and more are choosing between heating and eating. And this is crazy. The information that we're given about reality, what's really going on, because it comes from the media, is an entirely distorting picture. So on health and on education and on housing and on the environment, most of us could be very easily forgiven for not really understanding what's going on. What we're doing with this occupation of Parliament Square for 9 days is splitting the camp into themed days so that every day we have inspiring speakers that are really in a position to give a picture of the world that actually makes sense.
Turn and face the strain. Changes. Don't tell them to grow up out of it.
A lot of people that I talk to believe that we should have a democratic voting system, for instance, where the number of seats in Parliament reflects the number of people that vote for the party. That seems a pretty simple proposition. It happens to be the case that every single country that I know of that's had the chance to choose a voting system where that is one of the options has chosen that one because it's democratic. That's one thing that we could change. Another thing that we could change is the way political parties are funded. At the moment, they are paid for, especially in the case of the Conservative government, by interests in the City of London, but it's not very different for the Labour Party. Yes, they get some money from the unions that represent some working people, but they also take large amounts of money from the City of London. This current government is privatising at a rate that Margaret Thatcher couldn't have imagined. You look at the privatisation of Royal Mail, where literally friends of the Chancellor made millions and millions of pounds in a few days because that was priced so cheaply. I wish that this were an isolated case, that this was a one-off, but this is what is happening across the board. People like us are the ones that have made all the major changes happen. They've never come from the top, they've happened because people like us struggle for them. So join us on Friday, on any day that you're available, that interests you, but please join us.
Turn and face the strain. Changes. Don't tell them to grow up out of it. Changes. Turn and face the strain. Changes. Where's the shame you've left us up to our next event?